Hey guys, and welcome back. Now we're at episode 4 of this lovely painting we're doing. So, as you remember before, we started laying in our whites and our grays and all that stuff to kind of get some movements and clouds and stuff below. So we're going to continue going back and adding in more whites and stuff. If you remember correctly, I was using flake white before, which is this lovely color, and you're going to want to buy the big tube of this because trust me, you're going to go through a lot of it when you start to paint and all that fun stuff. So, but now remember, always be careful when it comes to flake white because it does contain lead. So always wash your hands after, do not eat, do not drink, and just don't chew on the tube of paint. I know that it's silly, but I feel I must tell people because it does contain lead. And of course, coffee is a must. Alright, so now let's continue back. So we've got our flake white going here. And I usually thin it down really well because the more you thin flake white down, the more transparent it becomes. So, but the awesome thing is about flake white, it literally, even though it's transparent, it will pretty much transform anything you put it on top of. So, since we already have our shadows and stuff like that we put in before in our other layer, we are just adding to it. We're just adding the layers and adding the layers. And it is Thanksgiving week, so I hope everybody is having a wonderful Thanksgiving with their families and stuff, because family time is very important. So let me adjust that camera angle just a little bit so you can kind of see a little bit better what I'm doing there. There we go. Hopefully you guys can see. As you can see, I'm just adding the flake white right in. This is right out of the tube, and you just add it in. This is, you can kind of see how you can just gently just brush it down and it just lays right on top. And then I just kind of brush it down and then just pull it right back very gently. Just very, very gently. Just pull it straight back. There you go. So you want to go very gentle with it. Very gentle. And you want to figure out the movements you want to go with it beforehand. So it's like here, I kind of wanted the clouds to come in this way, kind of come up. So with that, I'm just simply just gently pulling it back. There we go. And as you can see, oh, and always turn your cell phones off when you're painting in the studio. Alright, so we're gonna paint, we're gonna thin that flake white down a little bit more. So remember, we want our clouds to kind of come in from this side and pull around. So I'm gonna do the same thing here. I'm just gonna simply put it on and then just gently, very gently, just pull it back. And the awesome thing is, remember all that texture we put on our canvas before we started with the tissue paper? This flake white really picks up on all the high points of it, and your dark colors will stay underneath. So there you go. So gently, gently, gently. Don't get in a hurry. Just very gently. If you notice, I'm keeping the brush probably at a 55-degree angle, maybe a 60-degree angle, and just gently pull it back. And what will happen, that flake white that's on your brush will go on like hard at first, and then as you gently pull it back, it'll just blend everything together. Alright. So I'm going to switch back to the titanium white because we want to get this over here done. So we want to put a base down, a very wet titanium white to start off with. So, I know it was already on there from when the first round of painting we did, but that has since dried since then. So we just simply add another layer of it and just let it be on top. Doesn't matter how many layers of titanium white you put down. But we want to go very thin with it. Now when I say thin, I mean really thin. So I hope everyone is having as much fun as I am about painting this painting. So if you guys have any ideas of what you want to see painted in the future, please let me know and we will paint them together. Alright. So now we're going to go back with our bigger brush here and I'm just going to kind of wipe off, because remember we used it to do our grays and stuff, so we're going to kind of wipe it off to get all that excess gray off. The good thing is we'll use it to our benefits. Alright, so then we'll just go back and you can kind of see that gray is still on that brush, so it's kind of adding a little bit in. And right here we're going to blend it all together. As you get closer in, you want to get very gentle with it. Alrighty, so now, okay, so if we look at the painting, we're still trying to figure out exactly where we want this to start. I think we want to start it here. So we're going to kind of mark our lines, and then it's going to kind of go there. So we'll bring that in, and we want to kind of mark it out. And since we still have gray on our brush, it kind of marks it off perfectly for us. So there we go. I remember that line we erased earlier that we really did like, but we're like, oh, it's got to go. Well, if you notice now, it actually fits in really perfect that it went away, because we've got this nice fluffiness right in here, so it's okay. So we're going to go back and we're going to add in the, ooh, you know what we haven't added in a while? We haven't added any silver or pewter. So how about we add some pewter to it? Because, you know, pewter is an awesome, awesome color. And it has a little bit of sheen to it. So give our clouds a little bit more dimension to them. Alright, so let's go back and tell you what, let's add some pewter in right here. If you notice how it's blending in with that titanium white we put down first, so it's blending in really nicely. And right now we're just doing broad strokes to get the paint on the actual canvas. So we're not doing any fine brush strokes to really do any fine details. We're just trying to get the colors on the canvas right now. Now as we look back and we look at it, you know, it's okay to step back and look at your paintings every once in a while. So we're kind of stepping back and we're looking at it and we're like, you know what? This line that's coming up here, not quite really happy with it. It seems artificial. It doesn't seem very real. So we're going to get rid of it. It's very simple to do. We're just going to use our bigger brush that we used, and we're just going to erase the line that we put in. And then boom, it's gone. Just like that. Sometimes you got to bear down on it. And our line is gone. And just to make sure it's gone, we'll go back with our titanium white here, and we'll just go right over where it used to be. Because that way, there. So you step back and you look at your painting again and you're like, you know what? I do like that better. I do. So we'll keep it like that. Because that's the great thing about painting, is that nothing is permanent. And if you don't like something, you can just simply erase it. So I might go over that in one of the future paintings, where we'll paint something really wet, we're not going to like it, and I'm going to show you how to completely wipe it off the canvas and start all over. Now here's an interesting story for you guys. So if you like to, let me tell you an interesting story about how artists, we kind of change our minds and things like that. So I believe it was Monet, when he was vacationing in the French Riviera. I think so. I think it was Monet. But he had his apartment studio was there overlooking, you know, the Riviera and stuff like that. And so he would, because the light is amazing there in the spring. So he was there painting. So he would complete a full painting, and then at the end of the day, his studio assistant, while he was taking a nap, was instructed to take the turpentine soaked rag and basically wipe the canvas completely clean. So what's so fascinating about that story is that from some of his Riviera paintings, you can actually x-ray them and see layers and layers and layers of the other paintings. It's really fascinating. Okay, well, let's get back to work here on our painting. So I've loaded my brush up with my flake white because I want to add in a little bit more textures and things like that. So because we have a lot of textures to do here, a lot of textures, there's going to be a lot of layers. So if you notice, I'm going to start dabbing it with my flake white, and then I'm just going to pull it back gently to kind of give us our first layer of action here. Then you kind of go back and you do this, and it will automatically add in all the textures you need. And if you guys are painting along at home and you're watching this and you have any questions, like I said, please leave it in the comments below. Or if you just enjoy hanging out and watching me paint, that's always fun. Because I enjoy the company. I'm glad you're here. Gives me somebody to talk to. You know what the strange thing is? When people aren't here, I'm kind of talking to myself. So now I don't feel quite crazy. I'm glad you guys joined me in. Alright. So I'm really liking this, like right in here. This white and this grays and stuff, how it's built up. So what we're going to do is we're going to add more to it. So I'm going to bring my flake white in, kind of just add a little bit more to it. And remember, we want our movement to go this way, so I'm still going to continue to pull everything in this direction. But since I've really loaded up that paintbrush, it's really sticking to the painting, and I can pull it. And we've got textures and layers and all of that fun stuff. And don't be afraid to take chances on your painting, because there really is no wrong way to paint. There really isn't. I think people have tried to make art a lot more complicated to make themselves sound more educated or better than other people, just like everything else in life. But the beautiful thing about art is that it's very personable. It speaks to each individually differently. So, and my job as an artist is to hopefully be an insulator or a translator from that world into yours. Sometimes I get it right, and sometimes I don't, but you know, it's okay. So if you notice, we are just gently pulling our paint back, and it is really adding in a lot of textures. Oh, look at here. We have a whole line that just has appeared just by doing that. So you know what? We're going to take full advantage of that. We're going to use that to our benefit here. So if you notice here, we've got a lot of our layers built up that are still wet, which is awesome because we can kind of blend them all together and everything like that. And I don't know if you guys can see the edge of the canvas or not. Probably not in that angle, but if you could, it's really awesome. Sorry about that. It's not very bad, didn't it? So if I can scoot this thing over so you can kind of see it. There we go. Maybe is it in the camera shot? Yeah, there we have it. Alrighty. And I just completely screwed up my whole studio lighting by doing this. I guess I better pull that back, huh? Oh, hey, as long as we're having fun, right? Okay, so let me kind of pan the camera over so you can kind of see what I've been working on over there on the side there. So, as you can see, we're still using our flake white and we're really pulling it in here to really give it some textures and add all that stuff in. So that's what we're doing here and here. So that's what all the big bumps are, the flake whites and all that fun stuff coming in. Alright, so let's straighten the camera back out. Let me tilt it up just a little bit so everything's kind of straight. There we go. Awesome. Alright, so we're going to continue with our flake white. It's going to be a whole long process of just adding in flake white and all this stuff because we're using that to add in a lot of our shadows and textures and everything of that nature. So that's what I'm saying. It is a long process, so no need to be in a hurry. Just have patience, everybody. It's okay. Patience is a good thing. Alright, so we'll continue with our flake white and all that stuff to add in this stuff, and then we'll go back with a we're going to mix up some zinc and some titanium whites together. You can buy that white that's already mixed up, which is what I would suggest doing, but if you want to be a purist, you can just mix it all in. It's titanium and zinc white, and that's basically this white here. And so, let the camera focus. All this is zinc white and titanium white mixed together. So it's a beautiful white. I would strongly advise using it. But yep, it's good though. There's also a little bit of flake white tossed in there as well. So, okay, alright, so to show you what this white looks like, we'll put a little bit on our palette here, and I will show you. So it's a really creamy white. Alright, so why don't we go right in here with it. We'll use the same process before. We're gonna dab, and then we're just gonna pull it away. And you can kind of see where it really just, so you can kind of see it starts that there, and then we're just going to simply pull it back in the direction that we want the painting to flow. So we're just going to pull it back. If you notice how it kind of does the same thing as the flake white, it's just a little bit more opaque. It's not nearly as transparent. So, which is great for us. So we have that line there. We're going to go back with our bigger brush here. Now remember, this brush still has a little bit of our grays and stuff mixed on with it, and we're just going to kind of go up. We're just going to up brush it just a little bit, very short, abruptly. Then we'll go back and use that short, abrupt brush stroke, and we're going to take that all the way up to that line that we put in there. And if you see how it gives us this great line there. Now, not exactly sure I want that to come all the way down to the bottom, so I'm going to bring it all the way up just a little bit to erase that line there. And we'll back blend everything here. So we're basically going to end up, out of all that, we're going to end up with this line that's just right there, which is fine because then we'll go back because we still have some of it on our brush, and we will take full advantage of that. Alright, so now we've got this weird like valley almost here. So we've got this line coming in here and this line coming in here. But now if we're not careful and we mix these two together, we've got like a V here, and then we've got this background. But we don't really want that to happen because remember, we want people, when they view the painting, kind of starts here and it flows in and it whips them around. So putting a line in here, your visual eyes will see it and they'll hit this line here and it'll stop and it'll bring them straight down here. So what we need to do is we need to lighten that line up so it's there, but it's not a visual wall. And so we're going to go back with our flake white, and we're going to load our brush up pretty good with our flake white. Now, This is going to be tricky because we really like this line, but we want it to go away, so it's okay. Remember I was talking about how sometimes you have to prune the tree to get the proper amount of fruit? Well, this is one of those cases. So we're just going to go and we're just going to add in our flake white here to kind of make this whole thing just gently disappear. But we're still going to keep that line because we want it to have some impact, but at the same time we don't want it to visually stop our eyes. There we go. And so we kind of lightened, so we've kind of lightened it a little bit. And now, ooh, you know what we're going to do? Let's grab some titanium white. And we'll actually add some titanium white around the edges, so this is then going to look like a hole in the clouds. So let's grab us some titanium white here. So get us some titanium white. We're going to be very gentle. We're gonna use the corner of our brush. So we're gonna use actually this. We'll let the camera focus. Maybe we're gonna use this part of our brush right here, and we're just gonna simply come right around with it. Gonna hit the highlights of it with the corner of the brush. Then we'll go back and we use the entire brush flatwise. Then we're gonna back brush it this way because maybe there was some wind behind it. So now we're going to clean our brush. We're not going to clean, but we're going to wipe off all the excess paint, so it's almost like a dry brush. Then we'll go back and then we'll just gently use the entire brush with that angle. These we're going to brush up this way. And you can kind of see where we use that small corner of our brush. It kind of added in a little bit of jaggedness, so we'll continue with that. Then we're going to back brush it a little bit, and then there's our original line that we started. So you know what, let's use that short brush stroke. We're going to put a lot of pressure on it. We're going to dig up a couple of those layers of paint, and we're just going to use that to make a wall of paint there. And behind it, we just use that angle, back brush it a little bit. And here we have it. Then we'll grab our bigger brush, we'll kind of clean the excess paint of it off, and just go back, kind of blend everything together. Now, you're thinking that's a pretty sharp hole right there. It doesn't quite look real. So then you take your blender brush and you just simply kind of go over it just a little bit to kind of flatten down the harshness of it. And there we have it. And we'll go back on the next layer and we'll add in some more paint. And we're just adding in layer upon layer upon layer right now. And so as you can tell, painting, you never want to rush yourself. I mean, it's okay to paint fast if you want to, but I personally like to paint slow and take my time because I enjoy it and everything. So alright, so I've now loaded my brush up with some more flake white, and then we're going to go back and we're going to add some more texture in here. So now I'm going to bring this way, so let's go this way with it. So now we're going to go back and we're going to add in some titanium white there to really just pop off the top layer of these clouds here. And now you can kind of see the difference between your whites when you start doing one white on top of the other. That titanium white is really just a lot brighter than that flake white. So, but that's what we want. And then we're just going to pull it out like so. Just be very gentle with it. And you don't want to get in a hurry here, because if you get in a hurry, you run the risk of losing a lot of your textures and a lot of your texture lines and stuff like that. So you want to be very gentle. And also, it's okay to leave some of the high spots of your whites, because that actually is going to add in a little bit of depth and everything. So you still want to keep in that line that you originally put on there. So and just think, all of this happened mainly because we wanted to take out that one line. So sometimes, it's like, I guess it's much with life, you know, you prune certain things out of your life and you realize once that is gone, you end up creating this whole other amount of movement around that one spot, which is kind of an awesome thing if you think about it. So, because see, now look, we've got all this movement and stuff right here where this line used to be. So I just think it wouldn't have been there if we had not have moved that line away. So I'm going back and using this Cremenza white in here to add in some little bit of textures and stuff in here, which is really what that white is doing there. Going back and just gently moving all the paints together. As you can kind of tell, that the Cremenza white is kind of almost, well, it's flake white, titanium white, and zinc white kind of all mixed in together there, and it kind of is a nice balance between them all. And you can kind of go back if you want to add some more transparency, use some lead white or flake white behind it, and then use the titanium white on top of it, so it all kind of mixes in together. See, we're just gently, we put in that first line and then we just gently brush in the direction we want the painting to flow, and it just carries it quite nicely for us. So yeah, so let me kind of adjust the camera here so you can kind of see a little bit about what we're working on here. So you can kind of see, remember this is where our line was that we wanted it to go away, so then we were like, no, we got to prune the tree, we got to prune life. So we got it out of the way, and we added in all of our whites to kind of come in and add in all this like movement and stuff. So now we've got almost like this raging clouds and the storm kind of brewing, where it's kind of coming in this way. We want to keep that going. So yeah, so we got all this coming here. So we're going to add in, so then we'll go back with more whites, more layers, and we'll just keep adding stuff in on top of this, on top of this, and on top of this, and on top of this. And before you know it, this, when you look at it, it's going to be way out here with all these different layers behind it, and we'll keep going further and further back. Alright, so we'll back the camera up just a little bit here so we guys can see the entire canvas as it's kind of tying together here. So awesome. Alright, so if you look, so now we've got this going and we have a bunch of darkness over here. So what we want to do is we want to keep this darkness. So how do we do that? Well, we need to add in some white below it, and believe it or not, we're going to add in some whites behind it, and it's going to add in a little bit of textures and shapes and all of that. So yes, so we'll go back and we're just going to kind of blend our edges in here. Because remember, we kind of want it to come up and around. So at least that's what I want to do. You guys might want your paintings to do something completely different, but you know, that's just like what I think. Alright. So now remember, take your time, do not get in a hurry. Patience is a must. So I do like the fact that when we took this line out, we added in all these other lines and stuff. But we got to keep that going. So what I need to do is right here, I think I'm going to add in some more of our whites here to kind of really cause this to pop here. And I think we're going to bring it on around this way. And this way won't be in a layer. And we'll kind of bring this here, and we'll end up with this nice shadow in there. Yeah, so why don't we do that? So we're going to start with our, you know what, I'm going to add some zinc white in there to that one. So that will give it a nice, so remember our zinc whites, pretty good about adding textures and things like that. Alright, so we'll do that right in here. So we got our zinc white, and why don't we come on this side so you guys can see everything. So we're going to kind of come over here and we'll add it in about right in here. And see how it kind of just naturally just beautifully blends right on in there. We're going to do that right in here as well. We're just going to gently pull it back. And so as we do that, it appears that our time for this session has expired, because I am trying to keep these painting episodes and lessons down to around 30 minutes, because I know an hour video is a long video to watch. So why don't we take this opportunity to cut it here, and the next lesson we will continue where we left off. And so I want to thank you guys so much for joining in, and I hope you guys are enjoying this as much as I am. So until the next episode, much love, happy Thanksgiving, and I will see you guys soon. Thank you so much. Bye-bye.